As the Philadelphia 76ers continue to execute their tank, all eyes are beginning to turn towards the NBA draft, and don't look much farther than tonight's March Madness matchups. I'm going to highlight 3 different prospects in this episode that could interest the Philadelphia 76ers in this next NBA draft. Now, we all know the big main priority for the Sixers team: get into that top 6. If they do not get into the top 6, they will lose their first round draft pick. It will go to the Oklahoma City Thunder. But also the Sixers do own a second round pick in this upcoming draft class, where I will highlight one player from this group of 3 prospects that will be a second round prospect that the Sixers could potentially target. But with tonight's March Madness games, we have some good ones in the Sweet 16. We have Florida playing Maryland, we have Alabama playing BYU, we have Duke playing Arizona, and we have Arkansas playing Texas Tech. Our focus is going to be on the top 2 games of the night, the first 2 games of the night between BYU and Alabama, and then the Florida Gators and the Maryland Terps. The prospects that we will be breaking down from Florida, who this is probably going to be the guy that is your second round pick, second round target, Walter Clayton Jr., consensus All-American. Then we go to the first game of the night as well, with Eigor Demon of BYU. We'll talk about him in his game playing against Alabama. And then lastly, Derek Queen, who will be facing off against Walter Clayton, and will be an interesting kind of matchup. I figure those two will get matched up, whether it's on a switch at some point or Walter Clayton taking the ball to the rim. Derek Queen, the big man out of Maryland. So we're going to highlight all these prospects and kind of what to make of them. It's time to really start to buckle in on these draft prospects, with the Sixers only having 11 games left in the season. Things looking well, knock on wood, as of right now, to at least have the best odds possible to keep that pick. It's still not a guarantee, as this is going to come down to the lottery balls and whether they fall in the Philadelphia 76ers' favor or not. But this is a circumstance where you got to start to watch these prospects, and these prospects are playing on Thursday night. One of Walter Clayton or Derek Queen will also be moving on to the Elite Eight as they play each other and playing on Saturday. So if you're catching this after the March Madness games as well, tune into this one of those guys at least on Saturday, and potentially 2 of them if Eigor Demon and BYU win. So we're going to start it off breaking down just a little bit more about these prospects, hitting on Maryland big man Derek Queen first. It'll be in the second game, the 7:39 tip-off. Derek Queen, a freshman, 5-star big man out of Baltimore, Maryland. Very good year, very good freshman year. 16.2 points per game, 9.1 rebounds per game, 1.9 assists, about a steal a game and a block a game as well. And he's known for, you've probably seen it on social media all week this week, he had the running kind of off-balance floater to win the game and push Maryland into the second weekend by knocking off Colorado State the other night. A very encouraging performance, and just his willingness to want the ball at the end. I'm sure you saw the clip as well, but basically Maryland head coach Kevin Willard came out and said, I went into the huddle and I said, who wants the ball? And Queen stood up and says, give me the mother effing ball. And he goes and he has a crafty finish like that to the basket. Derek Queen, the interesting part about him, or kind of the fascinating part about his game, he's not your, fancy or super athletic rim runner. He's not a guy that's going to bury you on the post. He's got more of a finesse type game, but he also has a little bit of physicality to him as well. But to not go over our head here in terms of the comparison, but he plays kind of like Jokic, where he's a great passer. He's a good finisher around the rim. But you watch him, he doesn't wow you athletically. He doesn't really pop off the page. He can shoot the 3 ball. He can step out and shoot a little bit. But he's got a finesse type of game more so, but also kind of a European flair to him. Kevin Willard, the head coach, also said at the beginning of the year, basically, this is a guy that if he was white and he was European, he would probably be in the mix for the number 1 pick. Take with that what you will, but a big man that could certainly fill the shoes potentially of Joel Embiid down the line. I think the Sixers' plan still is to just get Joel Embiid fully healthy, get him back on the floor, and continue to build around him. But they do need a successor plan, or they do need at least a solid kind of guy behind him. Derek Queen, could he play next to Joel Embiid? I don't think so quite yet. He plays with some other big men, but not quite Joel Embiid type level. So Derek Queen, a fascinating prospect, a good scorer and a good passer. Still worried about him on the defensive end a little bit. I think he needs to get quicker. He still kind of has that baby fat on him as well. He needs to shed some of that and get in better shape. But Derek Queen's a guy, certainly, if the Sixers fall in that top 6, is going to be a prospect to monitor. There's another guy from Duke and Kalaman Malawach as well, another big man that the Sixers will have their eye on. But this is one I'm going to be keeping a particularly close eye on in tonight's matchup. The second prospect that I want to break down for this episode, staying in that same game, Walter Clayton Jr., a consensus All-American this year, and a player that has only gotten better. His draft status right now seems to be at the beginning of the second round. I think he could potentially sneak his way into the first round if he continues to play well and he impresses at the combine or in workouts. But this is a guy that transferred from Iona, averaged 7.3 points per game as a freshman. More than doubled that in his second year, 16.8 points per game. But these past 2 years, north of 17 points per game, playing in the SEC. Just a really good player. The thing that sticks out to me the most about Walter Clayton Jr. watching him this past weekend, he gets off the ground in a hurry. He's only 6'2", so he's not the biggest guard, and it would be an interesting fit with Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain already in the fold. Is Jared Butler your long-term guard, or could you maybe upgrade with a guy here like Walter Clayton Jr.? But his athleticism, he gets off the floor quickly and in a hurry. So a very explosive athlete for a guy his size. Shoots the ball pretty efficiently, 44% in his career. Shoots 38% from three. He's just a bit of an undersized guard, and I think he's better suited kind of as a scorer, not an overall type of distributor. Only 3.4 assists per game. A 6'2 shooting guard at the NBA level might not necessarily pan out. So that's kind of the situation with him. But he's proven it time and time again. He played in the SEC all year, and that's the best conference that we've ever seen in college basketball history. Point blank period. 14 teams from this conference went to the NCAA tournament. 7 are still alive in the Sweet 16. So an awesome year, and he was arguably the best player in the entire conference. A first-team All-American. This was a guy that just balled out from start to finish this year, and he's got his team, and he's one of the main reasons why his team is sitting where they are today as a 1 seed and potentially going. So keep an eye out for him. As I said, he's got a pretty good matchup with Maryland. Two guards in the Maryland backcourt in Gillespie. The other guy that are able to give him a challenge. And then does he get switches on the Derek Queen? These two guys could be matched up against each other at one point going head to head. So Walter Clayton's another prospect to keep an eye out for tonight. I expect Florida to win this game, and if they do win this game, you'll see these guys in the Elite Eight playing for a berth to the Final Four on Saturday. So I expect to see more of Walter Clayton, but you could also see some more of Derek Queen, but depending on who wins the game tonight. But those are two prospects in that game. Certainly keep an eye out for. Tipping off at 7:39 Eastern Time. And then our last prospect that we're going to touch on, the most unique one of them all, Eigor Demon out of BYU. Not the fanciest player or the flashiest scorer. Not going to jump off the page athletically either. Kind of like Derek Queen, like talking about him a little bit, but just in terms of he's just a really good basketball player and find ways to get it done. A 6'9" guard. He's like a guard wing. Think of Kasparas Yakichonis if you've watched him at all, but just a little bit bigger and maybe a higher overall ceiling. Average 10.5 points per game, but 5.4 assists as a 6'9" kind of wing guard, 3.9 rebounds. Certainly needs to put on some weight and improve his three-point shot. Those are two things that I'm looking at his game as of right now. 28% only from three, but really efficient from two. 54%, still shot 48% from the field in total. 68% from the free throw line. Not the greatest when you're looking at kind of indicators of guys that are potentially able to increase their outside shot, their shooting ability. You can kind of look to their free throw and be like, all right, do they have the ability to step up and make free throws? Because that kind of goes hand in hand with their form, their rotation, everything with that. But Eigor Demon is a really fascinating prospect in his own right. Very flashy, your typical kind of European player. Can pass the ball, has really good handles, really good vision. He'll be playing an Alabama team tonight, and if you're a betting man, the over-under in that game is 175.5. That is the highest total in NCAA history for a pregame matchup. So expect a lot of points, a lot of fun in this one. It's going to be a track meet. Both these teams back and forth, Alabama and BYU, might be first one to 100 wins this game. So watch out for Demon, kind of running the break, a guy that I think has the ability to be like a rebound and go type of player, get the ball off of the glass at 6'9" and push. He doesn't have to outlet it, and he can kind of go and facilitate offense. Another player really young, a freshman, but I expect him to be in the mix there, kind of at that number 6 overall to 10 overall type of range for a potential pick in this upcoming NBA draft. Certainly there's guys like Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper that I would take above him, but he's kind of in there in the mix where with a really high ceiling, and the fact that he plays more of a guard spot, but he still is behind, or he still has the size to not have to share the backcourt with Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain or Quentin Grimes. You can put him on the wing, and he might struggle defensively at the beginning. He's a guy that's certainly going to have to put on weight. I don't think right now he's more necessarily such a plug and play type of player. He's somebody that's going to have to continue to grow, but he's got a really high ceiling. You can argue maybe one of the 2 or 3 highest ceilings in this entire draft if he's able to put on weight and consistently hit outside shots some more. So watch out for Eigor Demon tonight as well. Those are 3 prospects I'm keeping an eye out for. Derek Queen out of Maryland, Eigor Demon out of BYU for the Sixers' first-round pick if they are able to obtain that pick in the top 6. And then with the second-round pick, Walter Clayton Jr., a guy that's gotten better and better as his college career is going on, a very explosive athlete, undersized. I think that's the reason why he's kind of fallen down the board a little. But with a continuing to play strong in the tournament, his resume from this entire season, his entire college career, let alone and some good workouts, I think he's a guy that could slip into the first round. But the Sixers would be fortunate enough if he is a guard that you can kind of throw into that trio or that quadruple factor with Quentin Grimes, with Jared McCain, with Tyrese Maxey, and kind of see what Jared Butler is. I think he could take over that Jared Butler role if they don't look to bring Jared Butler back and have him kind of as a long-term backup guard. So keep an eye out for these guys in the March Madness tournament tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to break down 3 more prospects as well. Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Queen? What are your thoughts on Demon? What are your thoughts on Walter Clayton? Would you welcome any of these guys on the Sixers? Drop us a like, drop us a comment, drop us a subscribe. Enjoy the March Madness tonight, and we will talk to you next time here on Sixers Digest.